There's a command in Autocad called multilines. Multilines are a single object, but they draw parallel lines. It's all in one command. Multilines are composed of 1 to 16 parallel lines called elements, which you can define. The standard style out of the box has two elements or two lines. You can just type in ML or MLINE for multiline to start the command. And it works just like a regular line command. You pick your first point, and you can see here that you have two parallel lines being drawn. And then you pick your second point. Well, it continues on. Now, one of the cool things about it is that as you draw this multiline, you can see all the parallel lines are trimmed up to each other. And you just keep going. And when you're finished, you can just press Enter, or if you type in CL for close, that'll close up your object. Now, there's not a lot you can do to manipulate this. You can change your vertex locations. You can't add any more or subtract any to it. You can copy. You can rotate. You can also trim if I use the trim command here, that sort of thing. So that's the very basics of multilines. So let's open up a file. Let's look at the multilines.dwg file. Now in here, I've already created several multiline styles. If you type in ML style, you can see all of the different styles that I have created. This one's called new, new 2, new 3, new 4, and standard. So whichever style you want to use, you select it and pick the set current option. Click OK. Type in ML and you'll start drawing multilines. And you'll see with this style, the ends or the caps are arcs, and it also shades it in. So there are a lot of different things you can do with the multiline style. Now, if I start the multiline command, you'll notice in the command line, I have a couple of different options. I have style. And if I pick the style, I can type in the style I want to use. If I pick justification, that's going to change my justification. Justification is at top, 0, or bottom. I'll show you a top. See, when I go to click these in, where I click, my vertex goes to the top. If I change my justification to 0, you can see my justification is at the 0 setting, which means that it goes right in between the two parallel lines. And of course, the bottom justification means that the vertex will be here at the bottom. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. And you can do that to create the parallel lines wherever you need to. Multiline scale controls the overall width of the multiline. So if I go to scale, it's in units. So that means they're going to be 1 unit parallel to each other. So the distance between the two parallel lines is at 1 unit. So if I draw one here at 1 unit, and I draw another one with a scale at 2, see it's a little bit wider, a little bit farther apart. So those are some of the basic controls that you have over a multiline. Now when you create name styles for multilines, you do this to control the number of elements and the properties of each element. If you type in again, M style, and let's create a new one. I'll give it a name here. Let's just call it test. And you can start with any of the existing styles you already have created. I'm going to start with the standard one. So I'm going to click continue. So here we have the control box for it. You can give it a description. Maybe you want it to describe something specifically. And here you have the two elements. Now the elements are treated as if your lines are offset a certain distance, that's the offset here, from the center. We had the 0 justification. That goes right here. It's going to be in the middle here, and then you offset from that line 0.5 or minus 0.5. The 0.5 will mean it offsets up, and the minus means it offsets down. So you can control all of these here. And we only have 2 elements. If you want to add another element, you just click add. This is going to draw one right down the middle because it's at 0. Now you have different cap settings. We saw these here. They have a rounded cap. You can make it a line, and you can change the caps from the start. That means the first click or the end. So it'll include this on one or the other. You can make it an outer arc. That's what we have here. The line just squares it off, or an inner arc. I'll set these to inner arcs, and you can change the angles of them as well. You can display the joints. That means everywhere there's a vertex, it'll have a line for the joint, and a fill color. I'm going to make these cyan. And you can make your lines a different color as well. I'm going to make them magenta. That's for the center line. And if I want this line to be a different color, I can. I'm going to make it yellow. I'm going to make this bottom one, because I want each of these to be different. We'll make white. And you can even change the line type if you want. I'm going to leave that the same for now. I'm going to click OK. And this gives you a preview of what it's going to look like. Set it current, click OK, type in ML for multiline. You can see at all of my joints, I have that line there. When I press enter, it sort of hatched it or filled it in. So when would you use multilines? Well, that's a good question. Now you can use it whenever you need to draw some sort of striping, some sort of line work that's parallel. One good example might be wall buildings. If you need to draw a set of walls and you want them to be defined by certain specific colors or to be filled in, you can do that very quickly. Instead of drawing lines, offsetting them, and then hatching them, you can very quickly draw multilines in. Now be careful with multilines because there's not a lot you can really do with them. You can copy, rotate, change the vertexes, but you're going to find out that in some cases, there are things that you just can't do, but there are things that you can do. The other issue you have is once you draw one, there's not a lot you can do to add to it. You can always take away, but if I try to fillet these two lines here and here, it won't work. I can't fillet those. And multilines can't be arcs. So you can't have a circle around. You'd have to draw a series of multilines going around an arc that are very short. And that's not perfect, but it's a real quick idea. So there's not a lot that you can do with them in terms of a regular line or polyline, but the biggest benefit that they give you is that you can draw a lot of parallel lines together extremely fast. So it might be a good way to very quickly draw in some pipes. It might be a great way to draw in a roadway or a sidewalk. Or if you're drawing some type of circuitry pathway, you can draw that very quickly and it gives it some nice thickness or heft that you can work with.